Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, November the 23rd, 2021. Just a couple more days till Turkey Day. And today's daily Bible readings come to you from Psalm 63, 1 Samuel 17:55 through 18:5, Revelation 11:15 through 19, Psalm 76, you could have read, or Ezekiel 29, 1 through 12, and then Revelation 11:15 through 19 again. I'm going to take a look at Revelation. I'm wearing a hat because it's like getting cold again, and I'm still not used to it. So I'm cold, so I'm wearing my hat. Also like to look like I work on the docks somewhere, so I've been told that before. Anyway, gonna adjust it a little bit to give myself that real, see, now I really look like I work on the docks somewhere. But anyway, today's text from Revelation 11:15 through 19, it sounds familiar, or it should sound familiar. Part of the issue that we run into when we're reading apocalyptic literature, like I introduced, I think it was last week, talked about apocalyptic literature and what all that means. You can go back and look for that. But one of the things we run into is how familiar the language can sound while still seeming really foggy and out of reach. Like it sounds familiar, but it's still kind of odd, still kind of weird. So we're not sure what that's all about. And as I've said before, that's par for the course for apocalyptic literature. And, especially when it comes to this type of biblical literature, that's just what you can expect. Because biblical literature in general is always kind of referring back to itself. The stuff that's written later is always in conversation with the stuff that went before. Apocalyptic literature, just especially so, it borrows on itself, especially as you go on. And the book of Revelation is no different. So that's kind of the point, though. It's language that people are familiar with, but it's kind of still language that outsiders might not be familiar with, like I've said. So if you find yourself noticing the familiar sound and images, that's good because it means that that you're familiar with the rest of the text of the Bible. So good for you. You've been doing your homework. You've been reading your Bible like we tell you to all the time, us pastor people. So when you read something like today's text from Revelation, specifically verse 19, rather, I should say, you probably notice how much it sounds like what happens at the end of or what happens at Jesus's deaths, really the way Matthew talks about it, but also like in the 27th chapter of Matthew, but also in the 15th chapter of Mark, you get a little taste of it. But Matthew in the 27th chapter says, "Look, the curtain of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split." And this is what is recounted as happening at the moment that Jesus dies on the cross. And the veil of the temple is rent in two, and there's this earthquake and lightning and thunder. It's a cataclysmic event. It's an earth moving event. So this is familiar language. And in this image of God, though, we have here the same kind of thing happening. Then God's temple in heaven was opened. The ark of his covenant was seen within his temple. And there were flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and heavy hail. But here we've got God acting, and he's vindicating his faithful in the face of all the nations, which is interesting because in Matthew's version, you have this thing where after Jesus dies, and the earth shakes and darkness falls and the veil of the temple is ripped in two and there's thunder. Then you have the saints coming that have died before, coming out of their tombs and wandering around Jerusalem and testifying to the truth of God and to the truth of Jesus. So it's an interesting thing. It's you've got this veil between God and creation being removed and revealing the ark. In this case, you don't really get that in Matthew's version, but you get it here. So it's really similar, but as Ben Witherington, if you ever want to read a good commentary on Revelation, which I know you're just itching to, just nothing would warm your heart this holiday season like reading a book on the book of Revelation. Ben Witherington points out that it's really similar, but he kind of warns us that it's not simply a retelling of this crucifixion event. It's not really it's just a simple retelling of the Christ event. It's not telling us about something that's already happened. This is a thing that is still yet to be. It's the culmination of what was begun at Calvary. It is the final coming of God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. And so that's what we're seeing. That's what we're looking forward to, which is interesting because this past Sunday was Christ the King Sunday. It's the end, like I said, of the liturgical year. And now we move into Advent. And Advent has this flavor where even we're still looking forward to something. We remember how, we looked forward to the birth of the Messiah, the birth of Christ. But there's always this this element of, I'm going to use a big fancy word here, Perusia, this element of the second coming too, that's always kind of caught up in Advent because we have just celebrated Christ the King Sunday. We know Christ is King, but we're waiting for Christ to be Lord of all, and we're waiting for like the final thing to happen, which is what's going on here. Like, we know Satan doesn't have any power, but we're waiting for the final veil to be torn down and for the kingdom to really come on earth as it is in heaven. So anyway, that's the BBR for today. Get out, enjoy the day, maybe do a few laps around the block so you can get ready for all that turkey on Thursday. Anyway, talk to you later. Boop.